But there's still plenty
Yeah.
of champions on the table that can do that.
Yeah, one that's big Gwen on the table is, of course, that Rumble, a common red side ban. Got to highlight, though, a bit of a respect ban against Shanji, who always gets this champion taken away from him with how damn good he is at Rumble. And that Gwen being up, I mean, the common matchups we see into it are Ambessa and Rumble. We have seen Rumble even being B1'd over it, as you can beat the Gwen in lanes. So, curious to see if either end up getting grabbed here. Rumble, of course, off the board would have to be the Ambessa for Cube. But potential to grab something else. This Skarner locked in for Monki, and that is likely going to be Azir or Talia for Karis, as, yeah, Azir comes on in.
Now, every time that we've seen an Azir into Doinb, or at least maybe not every time, but a majority of the time, especially in split 1, Doinb answered with a Lee Sin mid. That is not going to be the case. Just going to go for the Sylas instead, and Aki playing the facilitative role this time around with the Vi, still reliable on just setting up that single target engage. WE have a chance to go for their counter pick of choice in the top lane, and then, leave everything up chance in terms of the second round for AD carry and support.
Yeah, I mean, Jax can be nice into the Gwen, but this is a matchup that I think really changed with the changes that came into Gwen. A lot more power was given to Gwen in terms of just early game, with them taking power out of her late game R. This matchup used to be, for me, really Jax-sided, where you could play into this lane and really set Gwen behind. I still think that it's a lane that you have to play into, but if left to its own devices now, Gwen wins harder than what it used to be. So for me, really important that Team WE is already going to be able to get involved and attack this top side. And frankly, I don't see a lot of priority yet for NIP, because that Azir is going to be getting pushed into the sideways. At least the first few waves will be a bounce for Doinb. So wondering if we get a bot lane that might be able to roam and support this this Jax for Team WE or even for Team NIP. Is if they don't have a bot lane that has push, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble impacting this top lane and trying to protect this Gwen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if NIP want to force priority by going for something like a misfortune once it gets to their turn to pick. They're banning things that would play very well into Super Dive, which is the
Here
Zion
comes
the Ezreal.
Kai'Sa. Yeah,
It can't be Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa's been banned by WE in the first round.
Oh, crap. Oh, yeah, it's on 3. I saw Ezreal's Aya ban. It's like, oh, they won Kai'Sa, right? Kai'Sa already being taken away from Leave. Might just be range to boot and to help set up this Gwen, Vi, Sylas in the front line here as Jhin. He's supportive from... yeah, also, you already have that Gwen and Vi that have some decent tank busting, too. So I think it is a decent game for Jhin, trying to create some more space.
You're going to have the blind support here for ppgod. Now, it would be nice to have some type of tank engage, and since Alistar is banned, fine time to walk in the rel and set things up with that Magnet Storm.
Yeah, of course, Alistar. You don't want to pick Alistar into a Sylas, give that one away. I would really like a Braum here, as I think that the auto attacking between the Azir, Jax, Corki, decent to enable that, but we haven't seen as much Poppy support with this laning being a thing. Poppy, not a strong champ in lane, but I gotta say, you can play at this game into the Rel, and then you get Poppy later on into Gwen, Vi, Sylas. I think this pick has been really dropped by the LPL, still getting a lot of play in the LCK, but I like the fact that we see it here, Raafaa. I feel like this is a really good scenario for it for Vampire.
Steadfast Presence blocks so many of these champions on NIP's side. Pretty much every champion outside of Jhin has some type of dash that you can cancel.
Yeah, we just really haven't seen Poppy support again once the lanes went back to standard. It's a pick that can be punished in lane, but see it right side here. I think this is a great get for Team WE, and frankly, if NIP don't get off the races early, that's a pretty easy comp for Team WE to execute later on.
Yeah, you have solid front line between your Skarner and your
Yeah,
Poppy.
you got to get through a Skarner?
Yeah. The Jax can kind of play either dive or additional front line, and then you have, really solid backline damage in Azir and Corki. So really standard composition from WE, but, for a composition or a team that got in through the third seed qualifier stage, these are the compositions that are totally fine, that you just want to routinely practice over and over again, because these are foundation comps that are basic and, very easy to follow and just practice team synergy, which is kind of, frankly, the kind of things that a team like WE would benefit a lot from going throughout this Rumble stage.
Yeah, again, second time we've seen both these teams. Both teams have dropped to JDG, and curious to see what, honestly, just to get more looks at them, to see what they're pulling out onto the Rift here, Raafaa. As for Team WE, just being here, a surprise in the first spot. Not expecting this team to do great in Group Ascend, but of course, FPX surprised us early on yesterday. We'll see if Team WE can maybe do so again today.
All right, game one between NIP and WE. We hit the Rift, and God, that skybox is always so damn cool. I think they're in the NIP home stadium in Shenzhen.
I was about to guess.
So
yeah, I think it's a home game here. That's the only reason they give them that home skybox. As Doinb at the helm in that photo too. We'll see what he can do on the Silas this game, Raafaa. As I will say, Ignite here for Shanji, quite interesting. As looking to maybe drive home like a bonus lead onto this Jax. I'm just concerned about really NIP getting up into this lane, because I think that when you take Jax, you have to go towards top lane. You have to play into this Gwen, because if you don't set the Gwen behind, then Jax will just lose later on. Yeah. So I'm wondering, just with the lack of prio in mid, and a bot is going to be pretty even to like a handshake. Rel can kind of beat Poppy, but Corki should have plenty of push too to contest the Jhin. But like, how can they get involved in this top side? I think this would be really, really important this game for both teams, with the carry via carry matchup, and a matchup where Jax needs help and needs to get ahead in order to set that Gwen behind.
Yeah, and both of these solo laners are so good at using the power of grubs. So you have to imagine that it's going to be... Already, grubs are kind of fought over heavily by all teams in the league, but because of the compositions that have been drafted, I like this. Oh, but Aki gets spotted. They pinged him. They pinged him. Really good ward set up by WE, knowing that Aki trying to go for a cheeky red steal right after blue. So now Monki can take this information and just attempt to cross into the bottom side and look to either go vertical, or unless Monki just wants to contest him straight up.
So I think this is partly the top side matchup, right? Because if you go straight vertical, then Jax, who was already pushing, can be put in a really tough spot. Monki going to get the bad news on his blue and his spotted. We'll try and chase Aki up north. His smite looks like it's coming up just a bit earlier. And Aki's level 2 and now getting collapsed upon.
Forced to use a cube back over that Baron pit just in case. Cube finished the collapse. And at least he's able to push him away from taking other camps. And at the end of the day, while, yeah, Monki doesn't get a red buff, I think that's like not the end of the world. You're not playing a heavy skirmishing jungler early on. You're not trying to look for early ganks. You're overall, as long as you have a chance to maybe contest Aki on the bottom side, since you already have push from Taeyoon and Vampire, at least it seems like, you might be able to equalize the camp distribution.
I just think the big thing for me is, like, yes, Aki gets the red buff, but you also just get info on where Monki's at, as, level 3-2 bot flashes, going to be traded out, but maybe Monki can get in to take a camp, but look at the info they just had for Shanji on the top side. They knew that he wasn't going to get dove, and even now, even the threat of a dive, he's just going to burn that TP early to make sure he's healthy to try and survive that. I think that Aki finding Monki just created that space for this Gwen to try and survive this early matchup, because again, if you get going on this pick, you do not slow down in this matchup. So I think it is really important that each team gets involved in this top lane. Jax really needs the help in order to punish the Gwen, and Gwen really wants a safe lane scenario just to scale on up. So I really think that Aki was able to successfully do that by just finding those camps for Monki and dropping the wards to track him. I feel like that's a big win outside of just getting that red buff.
Is there a chance to punish bot lane, though? No flash on ppgod, but he's not walking back to lane. Leave could be in trouble. It's slammed by a Vampire, and the E actually connects onto the wall. Leave still has a barrier. He's going to pop that first, then the flash. Now it's both summoner spells gone off this Jhin.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit surprised I got all the way to the wall, but a nice win here for Monki, as he will return to his camps as try to rotate those out, but still, it's going to be Aki that will have a really nice first base, going to end up picking up the red buff at the back half, and should get a lot of items. So, again, the first grubs, as you were highlighting earlier, Raafaa, I think that this is kind of a hard fight for NIP to take. Like, Azir can be really scary at that point. If you overcommit into the Sand Soldiers, Azir can do so much damage at the first grubs, but you do have a bit of a lead now on this Vi. And Silas, of course, with the 6, you can take his Emperor's Divide, take a Skarner Ult, and really look to make plays around this objective. So just curious to see if NIP wants to play the first one.
I mean, if Doinb wants to take inspiration from the way Scout played Silas yesterday against Knights Azir, then Doinb should know that you can absolutely do some disgusting things and schmooze through the Divide and buffer it through. Now, a repeat visit in the bot lane. Unfortunately, Monki does not get a chance to get behind Leave and actually put him in a spot where the rest of WE's bot lane can punish, but just a little bit of force to try and spook him. Still have 25 seconds to get back over to the top side and try and contest for the grubs that are spawning. NIP, though, they have, at least for the most part, their jungle in position to look for it.
I was actually a little bit surprised that Aki didn't try and yoink the Raptors here. As seeing Skarner, I think that was a pretty free take for him, but also, you do put yourself at risk to maybe take some damage from Azir, and Silas needed to get the TP off. So Aki will be a little bit late and will not give these a love tap quite yet. Still a little bit scared of that Jax topside, and of course Vampire did beat ppgod here first. So it looks like Team WE is going to be the first one on the grubs, and we'll see if Aki can split any of these with a potential smite, which he... Okay, well, it's coming off cooldown.
I think he's just completely giving it up.
Okay, he's bailing.
Yeah.
It's dragon time. Okay. Yeah, I was a little curious about that. I feel like you had options. I don't want to fight in the Jax that early when you have the Gwen. But Vi was ahead, and as you pointed out, Silas into Azir. Like, Azir can do a lot of damage to the grub fight, but if you are able to get on top of Azir and take him out, that can be really big. Feels like whatever conditions were going on for NIP, just going to be a trade, and if they want any grubs, we'll have to look at the second spawn of them.
You know what? On the one hand, it seems uncharacteristic for NIP to not just say, yeah, we can take this fight, see what happens. But on the other hand, might be a good thing for them to just take it a little bit slow in the early game. You have conditions that get better for you later the game goes on. You don't have to necessarily push the tempo of the game super fast and then, make a mistake. I think it's one thing to try and do that against a top team that you're not expected to win against, and you're like, okay, screw it. Let's see what happens. But against a team like WE that you are expected to win, I think there's a little bit more pressure to make sure that you're performing and not disappointing fans at home.
Yeah, quite literally at home, too, for NIP today. So, even more reason to make sure that they put up a good performance here on the Rift. I will say, I really like that choice, too, just because it kept the game stable for the Gwen. And with steel caps now in the inventory for Shanji, more levels going into this queue, things start to get a lot more stable for the Gwen. And there is potential now for Shanji after next base, as you get close to what we expect to be the Rift Maker, to actually take it to the Jax and shouldn't be impeded in getting his farm anymore. So I do think that a lot of the steps we've seen early for NIP, like that checklist for Team WE, we haven't seen the Skarner go towards this Jax lane and punish the Gwen. Shanji is at even CS. That's great for where you want to be in this game. So I do feel like we're getting a lot of positives for NIP on this top side just by making it stable. And Team WE going to look to change things now as Monki has 6.
Monki fully aware that there could be something top lane, just goes immediately in. The Impale is going to grab one, but the cease and desist buffered through the Impale allows him to get the knock up in the Cube. But Shanji's just taking so much damage, it ends up being a 1-for-1 with Cube getting the first kill.
Yeah, nice setup there from Team WE. Again, the Skarner lockdown going to be an advantageous trade. Trading jungle for a kill on to Gwen. I think Team WE will take that. Good answer by Aki to even just be up here to contest it. But Team WE is stronger at the moment. Shanji burned a little bit before that play started off, and he ends up going down.
Aki trying to pull the wave over so that he can give as many of the CS experience and gold back over to Shanji's pockets. Allows him to at least... I don't know if it's like the best freeze in the world, but at least he's able to hold the wave in front of his tower for now.
Cube has a TP. Yeah, Cube has a TP. It's a 4 creeper, so it's fine. But again, W burned here. No way to get out of the Skarner R. And this is a nice lockdown. I will say a little bit of disynergy there. Misplay from Monki and Cube. That counter-strike, the second phase, didn't get off until Shanji, he was pushed into the wall. And I think that might have costed Monki his life. He lost a lot of HP, just the fact that that wasn't a clean kill on the Gwen.
Yeah.
Gwen was able to get pretty much 2 more R casts off, arguably a Q cast that could have easily costed Monki his life.
Shanji actually has a decent health trade or health lead now over Cube, and he's forced a base. I think, at least for the case of this lane, the wave is starting to stack up in Shanji's favor so that eventually it's going to come back to Cube so he can take some time to get this base off. But
he gets the health base, but still, you can see how conditions are much better for Gwen now. And even
Yeah.
Team WWE interacting with that lane then, like, it's good. The 1-for-1's fine. It's a positive, right? But it's a little bit too late. And Gwen being at this footing with the Jax, again, things do not get better for the Jax in this matchup. So a little bit concerned still for WE. They didn't impact that lane soon enough. And Gwen is going to be a problem later on in this game as long as Shanji can continue to keep things stable.
All right, Matt, but what if WE just like sent 5 members and just killed Shanji 2 more times? Would that make things better?
That's super chill. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's super chill.
All right. Well, then
I think it is nice. Like, the Poppy lockdown into Azir, like with Skarner, they have ways and tools that they can deal with this Gwen. It's just that Gwen is going to start winning the side lane pretty hard here in a sec. So, at the moment, all focus still on the top side. Shanji going to be cruising up here as Grubs have spawned. Will be spotted out by NIP as WE starts hitting them. Rotation coming in. Vampire at 6 could be big.
NIP don't want to drop all the grubs here. Just wanting to get in range and smite at least one away. Vampire leads the charge and the W clips Aki. But he's able to use the cease and desist to buy some time through the impale. Oh, ppgod, and look at that, Doinb! Yoinks Monkeys impale and says, I can do it better, baby! NIP just out of nowhere completely sweep the fight, and Taeyoon and Karis are forced to retreat.
I came out of nowhere, but it was the overforce from Team WE that really made the conditions good for NIP in that fight. I just think pushing through this choke as Monki and Vampire, this is not the type of fight that you want to take diving into NIP like this. And that TP from Doinb was perfectly placed. The Skarner ult was perfectly selected for the scenario. And Doinb ruined any chance that WE had at that fight once he hit that R.
That was devastating. This is one of the few times where I can't wait to look back at a replay because I just need to see Doinb off again.
Also, Aki mechanically plays this really well. So, again, Monki Vampire, they go so deep through the choke. The R misses from Vampire, Dissynergy. That R from Vi to get out of the Skarner R was great. Yes. Then Doinb, the TP in, the dash back, picks up 3. Karis doesn't even find Doinb with that ultimate. It gets stuck in the back line. Leave goes untouched, and it's just a terrible fight for Team WE. Again, the location of that, the terrain, the fact that Shanji was able to get so much value off the fight, off the overextension from Team WE, is way too deep to try and take that fight there. So, big mistake from WE, punished by NIP as they clean up the last 2 grubs and now force Monki off the dragon.
Doinb is enough. Oh, wait, okay. Monki, I thought he might have been in trouble. He still has Flash, and Vampire not necessarily a damage dealer, but could always try and punt away Doinb in case things got really, really bad. But NIP doing their diligence to make sure that WE do not get the dragon while Aki had finished securing the 2 grubs for themselves on the other side of the map. And as you called out, Matt, the conditions for this Gwen matchup are now good enough to the point where Shanji is starting to win the 1v1.
Yeah, I think the Cube is trying to sprint for the Triforce to the point where he was ahead, but the fact that he has no MR now really hurts. He's going to be careful here. He's going to try and Q out of this one. Oh, Ignite dropped is dangerous.
Oh, no! No. Ooh! What was that, 48 HP?
Yeah, I mean, trade of Summoner Spells is straight up for Shanji, and he's healthy enough where he gets to stick around. So, Dragon goes over to Team WE, but it's a Chemtech Dragon. Some value, especially for Skarner, in this game, just having that isolated Dragon. But, I mean, Gwen's getting so much throughout this sequence, Raafaa. I feel like NIP very happy to drop this for what their Gwen's getting on the flip side.
Yeah. I mean, even though WE have the majority of the grubs, it definitely seems like NIP are getting more chances to inflict that turret damage and getting those plates. Now, mid lane, not so much for seemingly either side here. They didn't get a chance to look at NIP's mid-tier 1, but now the turret plates have dropped, and NIP are starting to come online with first item spikes across the board. Same with WE.
Yeah. We've spent a lot of time talking about the top lane, rightfully so. It's a volatile matchup. Gwen's dominant pick in the meta that was let through. But for me, biggest difference right now is Leave sitting at that early collector was the big benefactor off that early fight. Picked up 2 kills in that skirmish around the second grubs. So being early to that collector could be really big because NIP, I think that their one item outside of the Gwen, pretty big here with that Vi, Silas, Rel, Jhin. If they can find any picks, any setups, could be really positive as I really want to see if Doinb is able to continue to make plays on this Silas. As for me, this is the point of the game where you have to really be willing to throw your weight around, and make a big difference in terms of opening up a lead for your team.
Well, it's got the build for it. Rod of Age's first item, so it's going to be a bit more durable than the normal Sylas. At least I guess there's things like Proto Bell, which give you a decent amount of HP, but Rod of Age is definitely once at 10 stacks. Yeah. It's
You're right. This is the most. So, again, Doinb, he has access to some really nice ultimates this game. I think we're mostly going to see the Skarner and the Azir ult grabbed until late game, where Keeper's Verdicts, we've talked a lot about finding those numbers advantages, how significant that could be. Doinb opportunity to do that in these later fights, as does yoink away the Emperor's Divide. So that will be the choice for now.
The thing to always keep in mind about Sylas Ultimates is that if you don't use it anytime soon, it does run out. So we might either see Doinb just randomly casting an Emperor's Divide. It's not him just, doing it for fun. It's because he's running out and there's not going to be a chance to use it in an upcoming fight. Might as well see if you can get extra charges on your passive. Oh, mid lane, leave. Good night, no chance. We're going to be able to get out this one, but Doinb comes in with the Emperor's Divide. Magnastorm right on top. Aki now joins the fight, looks for the AD carry, and Taeyoon shuts him down, flashes away. Monki tries to send it into the tower, but just doesn't have enough damage behind him to follow up.
Good find on the leave, who doesn't have that cleanse, so wasn't able to escape the slam from Monki, who flashed to make sure that one connected. And some a little bit goofy there with that Doinb Emperor's Divide. ppgod on the engage. That Magnastorm Emperor's Divide working together, it felt like it didn't send people fully back. And really got NIP stuck in the meat grinder once Karis joined the fight on this Azir, was able to put out a lot of damage, forcing some flashes out of NIP to get away. So, honestly, a decent look, a decent find there from Team WE.
Yeah. They're still... They're like technically behind in gold, but it's just under 1,000. So they're still in a decent spot where they can scale into this team fighting composition that we already outlined at the top of the series. Now they're on the Rift Herald. NIP trying to leash it down, still below 5k HP, but now WE have more numbers to their name. Doinb and Lee finally showing up to the party. A curtain call is going to open up the fight. Vampire completely isolated, and then Shanji arrives. Look at the needlework shredding through Cube, and Taeyoon and Karis are just forced to retreat because their front line is getting completely terminated. And NIP, I don't think they can do any wrong here. Taeyoon had to watch Karis send it and just to die. Now, WE, the gold deficit has ballooned to about 2,000. NIP, with this Rift Herald, can get so much more off the map.
I like that take from NIP. The ultless fight, truly, from Team WE. I mean, it was only the Emperor's Divide that was really available for them in that one. Made a huge difference. When there's no Skarner or they have to fight through. As we're going to get a second look, it's the initial pick on the leave first. As again, Monki, a nice flash here just to guarantee this one off the back of Oh, sorry, it was Vampire's flash into Monki. Making sure that this happened. That's really well done, not reacted to by Weave. And here's where a little bit of goofiness happened is, that Emperor's Divide didn't get the full pushback. Kind of a big deal because Aki ended up having to burn Q and R in order to get involved in the fight. He just wanted the Q to where people hit the Emperor's Divide. Monki overextending here a little bit. That was an unwarranted flash for him. And again, no ults here for Team WE. It's only Karis that has that ultimate. That's significant, right? And Shanji with his, the angle that he takes and the lack of threat that he's under just ended up being a huge problem for WE in this one, as Karis was never really able to set up, never really able to auto, and when he goes in at the end, too late, as the damage has already been done.
Yeah, the Flash Emperor's Divide, just to give a brief moment of CC from Taeyoon to maybe shred through. Meanwhile, back to live. It's the Dragon. The Keeper's Verdict sends not the right target, as NIP still have a jungler to smite away that objective from WE's hands. No other members go down in the fight afterwards, and it's just back to a normal state on the map.
Yeah, the Doinb Keeper's Verdict being a little bit of that upgrade. Silas one there was able to find Monki, sent the right person back, whereas Vampires did not. And this Rift Herald crash is going to come with a fight being forced.
Aki is sending it. The Deadly Flourish connects on the Taeyoon. He's forced to pop the cleanse, but now he's got to dodge the Sniper's Bullet from the Crow's Nest. Meanwhile, NIP have isolated Monki and Vampire in the middle, but they don't have the damage dealers to really follow up, but they're just creating space for this Rift Herald to get another charge into the mid lane.
Decent stall, though, from Team WE, as they were able to get Karis a turret and a little bit of pressure up top for Cube, as we might see Cube in the replay. Is he going to flash out?
Okay.
Yep, burn flash. So, nice pickup for Shanji, who, again, is... Hey, we talked a lot about the early game, these decisions from NIP to really set up that Gwen well, whether it's Aki walking into the topside jungle of Monki, or dropping those first grubs. I think that all the investment they put into Gwen, and that you got to believe it's going to pay off tenfold this game, Raafaa, with how big Shanji is at the moment in this game.
I mean, it's already paying off, you know, maybe not tenfold,
Exactly.
maybe fourfold, fivefold.
It's already been good.
Yeah, it's already good. He's winning the 1v1. Now just imagine what happens when Shanji hits 2 items, 3 items. Then it's not just Cube's problem, it's going to be everyone's problem on WE as an Emperor's Divide attempt from Karis. Hey, look at that! A nice shuffle on the Shanji, but they just don't have enough damage because ppgod has arrived to the party as well. They finally take him down, but it came at the cost of almost all of Karis' HP.
Yeah, that is a good find there. I think that NIP, there was a potential for Shanji and ppgod to turn that one if they had a little bit more synced up. As I think one of the snips, or the R's, I should say, went sideways from Shanji thanks to the Magnet Storm of ppgod. But besides that, good find. Team WE much needed for them as they're going to look for this turret. Cube, we'll see if he can get out.
He's going to buffer the cease and desist through the Counter-Strike. Nicely done. And now Cube is trying to find a way to get out over the wall. Jeez, Aki just soloing Cube in the bot side of the map.
Really clean there on the Vi. That buffer was very well played. Aki really fed in this game. I know that we mentioned Leave was early to that Collector. He has now added an LDR to it, but it's Aki with that completed Black Cleaver now really helping him shred through that Jax. And Aki, again, he's really enabled to step up, go in this game as ppgod whiffs. Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Shout out to Aki. He might be big.
I want to let you complete your thought, but, you know...
Oh, I had no thoughts after the whiff. I had to let that one, you know, been watching a lot of the golf this weekend with the Masters on. I had to let that one simmer. I might have taken a lesson from those guys up there.
Oh, just letting it stew. Get some flavors marinating there. It's always a good approach, you know, in cooking. But for NIP's sake, I think one of the cool things about when a Vi does get fed, it does go from hang on. We might have a fight coming up, or at least preparing for the Otacon. They spotted Monki on the bottom side of the map, and I think that is what the trigger is. NIP just knowing, hey, we should try to burn down this objective while WE's jungle is on the other side of the map.
Yeah, I don't love this for NIP. Doinb is a little bit low. I think that if they find a collapse, it's big, but nice control word there from Monki and WE to spot NIP pulling off this objective. They're just going to use it to draw WE up, and I will say that top outer turret likely to fall with both Karis and Taeyoon there. And NIP, they're actually going to go play defense, so not really able to, or willing or able to push anything else down. Just going to lead to a top outer turret falling, so we'll play WE.
Yeah, they didn't have to do anything. NIP just kind of did it to themselves. They burned a teleport on Shanji, and unfortunately, not really nothing on the map. Curious how WE can actually leverage that advantage.
They could Otacon now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just saw Vampire base. It might be Otacon time now. I think that's the potential consolation here.
Okay. That turret was not low enough for NIP to just send it as a dive. I thought about it. You know, if that turret is like,
it's
maybe
down now. If Shanji wants it, okay.
No.
I thought they could have brute force Karis off, but again, wanting to respect some of the recalls that recently came out from WE as they're back out on the map, and Monki has found Doinb Vampire.
Yeah, Vampire willing to flash over the wall to pin Doinb into that pit. Taeyoon was also there in range, and even Karis getting a chance to chip in for a little bit of that. He actually got the kill credit as well. Well, now that's a 5v4 guaranteed on the map. Otacon started up by WE.
Azir can rip through this. Doinb doesn't have TP to join too when he gets back, so again, a 5v4 for WE. Do have Cube approaching at an angle. We'll see if NIP can spot it out as curtain call.
There is no Impale anymore from Monki, but Aki just can't get through. ppgod is doing everything that he can to hold the front line. Otacon has been stopped, but Taeyoon flashes forward to finish off the support. Karis tries to swoop on in, but cannot close the distance against Leave, as he's able to sprint super fast backwards. But he doesn't have a curtain call. He's super low on HP. It seems dangerous.
I'm concerned for WE. I am concerned for WE. I know Doinb is still coming up and coming out of the Death Chamber. If he's able to get here and get here in time, there is no Skarner ultimate. It's really only the Emperor's Divide and Jax ultimate that can be big for WE. They also don't really have a way to keep Aki out if he is able to buffer that Emperor's Divide. It does help that he's spotted, and does help that Otacon was burned through. Only the GAs for WE. No flowers to stick around and take. Is now NIP going to try and retreat and go play this dragon, which if WE were to play for, that'd be quite the overextension on the map. So
I mean, the best thing
this dragon goes over to NIP.
Yeah, the best thing that NIP can do is just try and brute force mid prio and then just steamroll the dragon. But they don't even do that. The doesn't seem like they're that confident to try and rip the objective right off the top.
Yeah, it was Cube, no TP. It's a little bit interesting to me, as looks like Aki and Doinb. We saw Aki just take the reset. Doinb, though, wasn't synced up or grouped up with his jungler. Ends up meeting his demise as the other jungler finds him. Good flash to guarantee this one from Vampire, and led to a really positive sequence for WE. I feel like at the end, they actually got quite a bit out of that, and maybe even more.
Shanji's in trouble. 1v2 again. It's Monki and Karis working together to sync up, not even needing the Emperor's Divide this time. Shanji just a little too far forward for Monki to be able to easily
that's huge.
Lock him down. I mean, and now WE, they're just ripping through Baron.
That TP for Shanji to play for the Otacon was so bad, because that's why we see Doinb bot now and not Shanji trying to stretch the map. So he just melts at the hands of Skarner, and now it's pretty easy to keep Vi out of the pit. With Poppy on her heels, this is Baron going over to WE.
Yeah. No way that Aki can actually get in there. Wow, WE just in the mid game off of one mistake by NIP's top laner, and they are just cruising through multiple objectives.
More than one mistake too, and it's one thing for the TP to get burned, another thing though to still get caught out for that sequence, and both solo laners now of NIP getting caught and leading to good sequences for WE, who with the Nazir you'd scale nicely, and we have seen their ability to deal with Gwen if Skarner's able to get on top of Gwen. And again, I think that NIP, like the last few minutes of the game, Shanji's been overgrouped, overforcing. Like the fact that he's down a level to Karis, I know it's from a couple lost plays and sequences, but that should not be happening. Like there was so much focus put into Shanji, making sure that he was healthy and had a good game state in this game, for them to then pull him away from the game state that he wants, to overgroup, to burn that TP for Otacon, which led to really nothing and only positives for WE. That's a pretty big mistake for NIP to be having in a game like this, and WE continue to punish as another inner turret gonna fall. Bot has already been taken, and WE, the push continues.
Shanji trying to put some pressure on the top side of the map, but cannot push it far enough to start affecting the second tier turret. Cube has now matched him on item parity for now. Sundered Sky plus that Trinity Force, and Aki was trying to look for a flank, but is spotted out by Monki. Flashes exchanged. There's still a cease and desist. Vampire's gonna find him with the slam into the wall, and Aki has no choice but just to send it. ppgod now following up with the Magna Storm. Shanji, great TP on the backside. Now it's all about seeing if Karis can survive, but that's not going to be the case here. Cube arrives, Counter-Strike right into the back. It's up to Doinb and Leave to carry this fight through. Cube head with the Grandmaster's Might. Does he have enough damage? Doinb tried to live to the very end, but the Counter-Strike will not survive as long as Leave still has got another bullet in the chamber. What a wild fight on the bottom side of the map there.
I know how much was burned for Aki early. I really feel like it could have been winning for WE if Cube's there early. So when we get the replay, I just want to see what caused Cube to arrive late, because this is a good start to the fight for Team WE. Yeah, again, Cube, it looks like he's cleaning up this this top lane. Again, I think if we're going to take this, throw down a ward now, have Cube TP now. Because if Cube enters the fight here, look at how good this start is for Team WE. Karis, that's a really nice Zanyas to dodge out from the Emperor's Divide. I know when Shanji gets in, it's big, but imagine if Cube is here on time to actually contest this, to prevent this big combo that came down from Shanji. Because in the back half of the fight, yes, he's able to clean up. He gets quite a bit, but early on, they were the ones to find Aki, but because it was then a 4v4 with Shanji joining so much earlier, being so much more effective than Cube, the fight goes NIP's way. I think if Cube's there on time, it could have been a 5v4 in their favor, where we've seen how effective the Jax is at keeping down this Gwen with the teammates, right? Bring the CC is really important for dealing with the Gwen. So I really feel like Cube being late really cost Team WE what was a really good angle there onto Aki.
I mean, imagine if Cube is actually there on time, and then WE...
Exactly.
There's a chance that WE just win the game off of that play right there. They're already set up right outside the bottom lane inhibitor tower, but, you know, that's an alternate timeline. We're not living in that reality. NIP still in it, only 1,000 gold down.
And the consequence of that fight, look at all the economy on the Leave now. He's the one that ended in the back half of that, wrapped up the Infinity Edge, working on what we assume to be an RFC for this Jhin, who, if Jhin does stack up these items, can be a problem later on.
NIP off the back of the fight are able to at least brute force their way through the mid lane. Karis did a decent job of shoving out a wave on the bottom side of the map. I imagine that someone else from NIP will have to answer it. Doinb has teleport. Shanji no longer has it available, so it's going to be on Doinb to correct side waves whenever they have a chance to. Dragon is spawning in 1 minute and 14, Baron in under 2 minutes.
Yeah, that soul on the table for NIP could be big. Baron, of course, spawning earlier, or I should say later.
It's okay, Shanji.
The fact that
that wall was thick.
Yeah, we're not gonna worry about it. Pod gives you extra move speed to sneak over that, right? No, I'm kidding.
There you go.
That's not how it works.
There you go.
That's not how it works. Again, like NIP, they could sack this dragon just to set up on the Baron if they really want to. They have that option since they are up in dragons. But I think Quad Soul really big for both teams, especially though for NIP with all the melees they have. Just having Gwen, get more move speed after casting R, or Silas get more move speed after casting R. That is really massive.
Yeah. WE doing a decent job of establishing vision in the red quadrant right now. But the fact that NIP are trying to sneak way... the fact that NIP are trying to sneak their way through, it's not working as well as they would like because they have been spotted on that back ward. WE challenging the Tribush, looking for Doinb. Good sidestep on the Impale, and now he has his own Impale, and he's going to bring the Scorpion right back into the waiting arms of NIP, and no one from WE wants to step up because they fear that the consequences would be too great. They've lost their jungler seemingly for free, and NIP should just be able to take Cloud Soul.
Yeah, that was way too deep from Monki. We've seen how big this Skarner is in the fights against the melee-heavy composition. I mean, these RZs have been really impactful in slowing down NIP. But playing directly into them like that, and Karis kind of took a weird E over the wall too, wasn't exactly able to follow up. I think that your read of them wanting to just be cautious about that was accurate, but that's a really expensive dragon to give over, because that is now Cloud Soul secured for NIP. They have a comp that can really abuse it, and you lost your jungler right before Baron for no contest on the dragon, and now a Baron where you have to fight into this smiteless, and it's just going to be given over. So for all the good things that Team WE were doing, things really have kind of come collapsing down now in the past few minutes, the way it was kind of collapsing down for NIP in the mid game.
Yeah.
Is Team WE really able to punish them?
It was a game of throws between both teams in the past 15 minutes, and the other team capitalizing well. And now we're at a point in the game where even though the gold lead is even, NIP, I don't know if it's strongly their game to now win at this point, but they have decent pieces already set up to play against WE's comp.
Yeah, I think the Zanyas on both the Gwen and the Silas really important this game, just to try and get out of these impales that have been game-changing for Monki.
This is going to be so difficult. You've already seen that when Monki is the only person trying to force the engages, he has to step super far forward on the Skarner, and the Impale, unless he has Flash available, it's just very, I don't want to say like super telegraphed, but it is pretty easy to see where the angle is going to be coming from.
Yeah, it is. He's also been too far up on a couple different occasions this game. It has really cost his team. I'm thinking back to that second grub fight too in the corridor. They overextended into NIP. That was kind of off Monki overextending to get that fight started, just not warranted. And again, WE, it feels like they really had a winning angle in this game, Raafaa, but that late TP from Cube, I think, killed them on the bot side. Because Shanji was so big in the fight, as Monki's going to get ppgod for free.
Might be a decent look
here.
Okay, WE now have a 5-on-4
Good
ppgod. Not sure if he was too far forward or just not willing to burn the flash, but...
Yeah, Doinb was top, no TP. Good look from Team WE. They had numbers.
There's a lot of too far forward moments that's happening in this game.
It's an NIP game, Raafaa, It happens.
Oh, Monki, he really wanted that wolf. Is he going to pay for it? 2 more bullets to dodge. Karis can... How did he bend it like Beckham around Karis's body? I don't know how, but now NIP
That's expensive.
have a 5-on-4 advantage, and this could just be the end of the game if they can push in and siege through correctly.
I saw one down click from Karis, and that might have cost them everything as Cube TP's in, has to hop back to his teammate. That's one inhibitor down. NIP, 30 seconds still on Monki. They can look for more. They only have 30 seconds left in this Baron, so they might just use the end of the Baron to make sure they get a clean reset, but they still walk out with that bot inhibitor after Team WE almost got off scot-free against a Baron defense. It's a nice win for NIP. Will really help them set up the upcoming Baron.
All right, I might have spoken too soon on, yeah, you can win the game right then and there, but
You were hyped.
still, getting an inhibitor tower, pretty hype. NIP one step closer to ending the game. Yeah.
That down click wasn't the best.
Karis might have sold out his jungler right there.
Was not the best down click. Oh boy.
Man. I just stand still.
Yeah,
and no one
I
was
thought for
else in
sure.
range to engage melee-wise, right? Why the movement?
I thought for sure that it was just like gonna be like, okay, they wind it up, right? As Karis catches it from Monki, it's fine. But no, Karis just I guess wants to be that elusive, you know. Needed the practice going Matrix mode in those bullets.
All right, well, Cube, he's got no one to stand behind to avoid all the curtain call bullets, and the lockdown from NIP makes it so easy for that final bullet to connect. Another 5-on-4 for the next 53 seconds. No objectives to take during that time here, since Elder is spawning in 1:30 and Baron in 2 minutes, but at least NIP can still continue to hold WE hostage in their base.
Yeah, and they're yoinking some camps too as they respawn on the bot side. Should be the look for NIP, but man, I again, things just kind of come crashing down here for WE. I really felt like after that first Baron, Team WE, they were in good shape to win this game. But we've seen them fail on the macro sense a little bit here, Raafaa. I think both teams have definitely had some errors in this game, but again, that late TP from Cube. We have Cube then being too far up in this bot side. We were unable to really make sure that we could defend the Dragon as Monki critically overextended into that choke. With the same mistake they made in the fight earlier in the game, fell victim to the same mistake later on, which is always a bummer, right? When you're working with the team. So for WE, I mean, you fix these things. This is a close game that they have been able to play, and it really feels like some of the mistakes they've just beat themselves in this one. I thought they played really well into the Gwen in that mid game where it was mistakes from NIP over grouping with that Gwen that set Shanji behind, and some good plays from Monki and Karis to make sure that that Gwen stayed behind. That had them the angle to be in the game in the first place. That and taking care of some numbers advantages, like driving in fights where they had those. There were mistakes from NIP, but fell victim to the same mistakes that NIP made later on for themselves, and now find themselves here.
Yeah, it's crazy because normally when we look at WE, we always kind of lament that, it's just Taeyoon versus the world. Like, no one else is helping. But Karis is having a pretty solid Azir game for himself. Vampire isn't a liability. He's actually been able to set up pretty decent engages and picks with the Poppy. Unfortunately, you know, the things that you listed out happened for WE, so all that effort almost doesn't matter anymore. Now Vampire getting chunked out, looking for another curtain call. This third and final bullet. This time it's not, doesn't bend around.
Cube.
But meanwhile, on the right side, Cube is isolated, and I think there was a keeper's verdict used by Doinb to punt away Monki. Cube runs to the safety of his comrades, and Vampire gives his life to try and give the rest of WE a way out. But ppgod is going to isolate Cube once again. He jumps to the safety of Karis, but Aki's looking to lock them down. Karis slides onto the right. Leave getting interrupted by Monki, but the Impale misses on Leave and only grabs the other two members here. Taeyoon still trying to put as much damage as he can, but Leave
Shanji in the
all
base.
the damage in the world. Taeyoon is just trying to do it all against 3 members, but this fight doesn't matter here because you called it. Shanji had teleported into the base, the Nexus exposed, and WE damned all their efforts. It was so close, but NIP still in the end will take game 1.
Yeah, I thought we had some good looks from WE. Quite frankly, at the end, though, NIP, the Cloud still made a difference, but still making that game look not very close in the back half here, Raafaa, as it really felt like it was superior setups later on once NIP had to clamp things down. And I thought a really tough game for Cube. I know that the map early on, they weren't able to play into the Gwen as hard as they wanted to, but for me, that late TP, super costly, caught out, isolated in the last 2 fights, super costly, and WE... Again, a game where they had truly winning angles and were at advantage at a couple points of that game. They could have easily found a win. They managed to let that one slip through their fingers.